because I don't want to have to download 25 300 megabyte Photoshop files, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to expand all your layers. And then at the very bottom here, create another layer and name that your first last name right here. And then we'll take a screenshot of your layers panel and the entire artboard here like this. Okay, and you can submit that screenshot to Canvas. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how I did this. If that doesn't make sense, you can watch me do it after that quick rundown, step by step. So here we go. To recap, let me show you my layers here. I started with typeface, and I am using a bold sans serif. In this case, it's Avenir Next Heavy. I made that very large, dropped my tracking, and then I applied one image to it, applied a layer with a gradient of blue, applied another image, and then blended that with multiply to give us the paper texture, applied the paint image, unnecessarily did the mask, you can skip that if you want, and just did lighten. Added an effect of a white stroke on that whole group, and then I put that inside of another group, and I added another stroke that is black in that group. Then I took my main picture, put the paint over the top of that, and I dropped it to a soft light blending and did an opacity of 45, and then came in here like this and added in some of those halftones. I kind of used a gradient to blend some of those out. Those halftones were this Kyle's Halftone Big Dots Wonky, which you can get by going to Get More Brushes. That'll take you to this page, and you can download all the brushes and kind of import them from there. Added some vignette here over the top, chose overlay so that I could I would brighten the whites, which I did in the middle, and darken the edges, which I did on the sides. Okay, now that I've given you that quick rundown, let's jump into making this happen one step at a time. Okay, all right, let's do a little Photoshop demo. If you're following along, I'm going to run through some stuff. If you're trying the master studies, try it first on your own. If you get stuck, feel free to come to this video. I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to press *2 here, and that'll give us 2K. All right, that'll be fine there. RGB is okay. Create. Okay, so now we've got our document. Let me turn on my Keycaster here so you can see. There we go. Good. Keystrokes here at the bottom left if you kind of want to watch what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I've got a few photos here that I've grabbed off of Pexels. I might jump and grab some other stuff off of Pexels, depending on kind of what's going on. But let's see if we can create something together. So I'm just going to take these two and I'm going to drag them over to my document here in Photoshop. Okay. Now, when it does this, it gives you this kind of like yes or no commit. I actually want this to be a bit bigger. So before I commit it, I'm going to do this. I'm holding Alt or Option so it pulls from the center, and then I'm going to commit. Okay. This one I'm going to do the same and commit. So real basically, let's see what we're kind of working with here. I'm going to look for part of this image that's kind of interesting here. I might shrink this down. We'll see. Okay, so what we're going to do is I am going to create a text layer. Single click in the middle there. Let's just type 315. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. And then let's jump over and we'll make this much larger. Way larger. Bigger. There we go. Okay, I can also Command T, kind of pull that up. All right, now what I am looking for here is I want a font that has a lot of thickness to it. Oh, I didn't like that. Is that too big? Give me something. Okay, so I want a font that has a lot of thickness to it because I'm going to apply one of these to the other, okay? And so I'm going to come in here like this, and let's just start with Avenir. We'll go heavy. You know, that's not bad. All right. If you don't have Avenir, find a suitable, I'm going to go down, tighten this up, sans serif font. Okay, so what I'm doing now is this is, as you can see, if it'll show us, no, there we go. This is tracking, so that's going to deal with the space across the entire line here. So I'm just going to That's too much. I want to get this to be not quite touching, but close. That's all right. Okay, so it looks like -45 on that. Okay, and then let's shrink this down a little bit. Good. So something like that. Okay, click OK here. All right, so we've got our text. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to put it above the text. I'm going to hold Alt or Option, and I'm going to Option click in between. So you notice when I do that, I get this little icon that is a square with a bent arrow, right? That applies this to that, okay? So you can see that that applies this. If I move this around, you'll see that wherever there are pixels on this type layer, it shows that layer, and wherever there are not, it hides that layer. All right, so that's not bad there. I'm thinking it might be interesting. I wonder if I make this smaller, if I can get some of the blue in that sky. If not, we'll cheat it. Yeah, I kind of want this like that, and we'll add in some blue. Okay, now I'm gonna click on both of those, and I'm gonna group them by pressing Command G, and let's call this type. Okay, and on this layer, I'm gonna add an effect. So I'm gonna come in and let's add a stroke. Okay, and let's increase the weight of that stroke. Let's make it white, and let's add an inner shadow. Let's add an inner shadow there. Let's see what this looks like. Give me distance, choke, size. Okay, I want opacity up. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I might go outer shadow. Let's try an outer shadow here. A little bit of a drop shadow here, and let's increase the size of that. Increase the opacity, just so I can see what's going on. Let's tighten up that spread and the size. I'm trying to see something, and I don't know if I'm seeing it. Let's turn our stroke off. It's there, but it's not bigger than the stroke. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is let's see if we can do this. I'm going to add the stroke to this. Okay, so let's go FX stroke, and we'll increase the weight of that. Okay, and let's come in, let's change it to white. Okay, we'll click OK. I'm going to create a new layer, a new group. I'm going to put it inside of the group, and on that other group, I'm going to add a stroke as well. But this one I'm going to make black. Okay, so the way that that's working is that I've got this effect, right? Gives it that. And you notice when I turn that off, that black stroke jumps in. So the stroke effect just goes on the outside of whatever this is put on. And since we're putting this on a group, anything that goes inside of that group. So if I were to put another layer in here, let's do another layer, put it inside of our type group. And if I were to just paint red, come in here like this, and we'll just paint a big charcoal line. Come on, be bigger. There we go. Okay. You notice that it inherits that stroke, right? Now, if I were to move that just inside of this one, it inherits the black stroke, but not the white stroke. So the white stroke is coming from the type, and the black stroke is coming from, let's call this black stroke. All right. So we'll get this, and let's delete that. Okay. So I feel like that's going pretty well. Let's kind of mess with what's going on down here. So I kind of want this guy to be sort of in the middle there, something like that. But then I want more over here. And so I'm going to come in and let's grab the rectangle marquee, and I'm just going to hit there like this. I'm going to press Shift Delete because it's a smart object. So let's right click and rasterize layer, and then Shift Delete. Okay, and we'll go Content Aware Fill, and okay. And it kind of adds that in. A little bit fuzzy there on the edge, and there's this kind of repeated thing, but I'm okay with that. All right, now inside of the text here, let's add another layer, okay? And I'm just gonna come over here, and underneath my paint bucket tool, I'm gonna grab the gradient. I'm gonna choose classic gradient. Gradient is garbage, classic gradient is gold. I'm going to choose that, and under basics, I'm going to choose this second one. And this will go from our foreground color to transparent. And so let's grab a blue here, and I'm just going to add a blue kind of to the top, something like that. Okay, and then I'm going to apply that to there, and that's not bad. I'm going to jump over to a radial gradient. I'm going to give myself, let's do an opacity down to 13 or whatever, and I'm just going to sort of hit some of these to kind of spread certain areas a little bit. I'm going to jump to a white foreground color, and let's kind of fuzz up or add some clouds. Just kind of jumping in. I'm going to increase my, I don't know if I want to do that. That's kind of, we're kind of losing that. So let's leave the white. Okay, I'd like to add some more kind of mountains, or maybe even some paint. Let's add some paint and do an effect on the paint. So I'm going to jump back over to Pexels here. These will be available in the download if you're getting this from my class. If not, you can kind of see where I'm getting them. But let's take a look at some of these free paint things. This one's kind of interesting. All right, so let's go free download, and I'm going to copy that and take note of where I got it. Okay, and then let's jump into Photoshop, and we'll grab here, and we'll grab this guy, and we'll drag him in as well. Okay, now I'm going to rotate this. If you hold Shift while you do that, it'll keep that. So I'm going to kind of put this, and I'm going to have this be the full kind of width of this whole thing. I might give it a little bit of an angle here, something along those lines. Oh, it's got the blue. Let's put that at the top. If we go blue at the top, yeah, that could be nice. So let's come in a little bit here like this. Okay, click OK. All right, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to apply this to that, right? And then I'm going to make a copy of it by dragging it down to this little plus box in my layers panel. And I'm going to take that copy and I'm going to put it here. Okay. So now what we've got is we've got one here. And then if I do this, you can see that that's that, right? So there's all of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the paint kind of come in a little bit at the top, and then I'm going to have it come in the background a little bit at the bottom. And let's see if that makes any sense. Okay, so first off, let's hide that, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to add a mask. So this button down here at the bottom that has a white rectangle with a hole punched out of it, that's a circle punched out of it. If I click that, it adds a mask. Okay, so this is our layer, this is our mask. Wherever we paint black, it will hide. Wherever we paint white, it will show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Command I. Okay, that inverts it. The mask is black. Now let's jump over to our thing here, and I'm going to go into our mega pack that you can download. And let's look at Real Oils, Bristle Blender. Okay, and I'm going to see if I can paint. Nah, it's not going to work. I don't know if the oils are going to work as much as I would like them to. Let's see what we've got in our paint box. Smudge, Wet Blender, Big Bad Wolf. Yeah, Big Bad Wolf could work here. Now you can use these if you don't have a tablet like I do. Just by using your mouse or your trackpad. This is obviously going to be much easier and better with your thing. So I'm using the Big Bad Wolf, and I'm just going to come in a little bit here and kind of paint this in. Thank you for showing me that. And we're just going to kind of come in a little bit like this. Give ourselves some of these and switch back to white. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to do here, so I'm just sort of playing around to see what we can get. And let's try this. Let's try the whole thing, okay? And let's see if we can use some blending. Blending might be kind of an interesting option here. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab the layer, and I'm going to go to where it says normal in the layers panel. And I'm going to look at these blending options. Now lighten might work with what we're doing, or color dodge kind of goes a little bit too hard. Overlay maybe, soft light I don't like. You know, lighten looked pretty good. Yeah, let's do lighten. Let's do lighten. It's giving us some nice texture in here. It's a little bit heavy here, so we can paint that out. But I'm wondering, let's right click and rasterize the layer. Okay, and I'm wondering what would happen if we Command U. Can we desaturate this and just get the texture? It kind of washes out our mountains. Can we shift the colors a little bit? Brightness. Okay, I might do brightness. I'm going to put 0 on all of these. Now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of adjusting these sliders and seeing what they give us. I'm looking for just little subtle hints of things, and I don't mind that. That looks kind of nice. I like the kind of textures. In fact, let's go get some more textures. So I'm going to go back to Pexels, and I'm going to search paper texture. This one's not bad. Okay, so let's download that, and we'll copy who it is and keep track of it. And then let's jump over to Photoshop and we will grab a paper texture. Let's drag it on there and we'll rotate it around. Let's make it bigger, something along those lines. Commit it. I'll click in between those and I'm guessing multiply. Oops, I gotta be selected on the right layer. Yeah, that gives us a little bit of that. Let's try overlay. I like multiply. Okay, we're just getting some folds and some kind of paper texture. So let's see if we want to do that or that. I like it underneath. So I've got my paint layer here, I've got my texture, my paper texture layer there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So let's work with the background now. All right, so let's turn this on and let's see what's going on now. These blending modes are going to work differently based on what they're on top of. So they always blend down. And I don't know if blending is going to work with this as is. That's kind of interesting. Soft light is kind of knocking out the foreground and just mixing with the sky. That might be something that we'd want to do. Yeah, I think I'm going to go, let's go with soft light and we're just going to drop the opacity down. Just want a little bit of that kind of paint trippiness. So you can see with and without it there. Just sort of, just a little bit of rainbow. So that's not bad. All right. Okay. Okay. So let's draw our attention. Let's draw our attention to the center here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new layer and I'm going to name this center light. Okay. And let's do overlay for our blending. And I'm going to jump over and I'm going to create some just big white stuff in the middle here, just to kind of, and we can kind of really accentuate that guy. Okay, I'm going to do some black on the edges. Ooh, that might be a little bit dark, but I kind of want to pull us into the center. So I'm kind of just giving ourselves a little bit of a fake vignette here. Some of this is a little distracting and I'd like it. You know, I'm going to switch over to the linear and just pull this whole thing over. That's not bad. Something like this. Okay, good. All right, cool. Okay, so we've got that. Let's add another layer here. And I'm just going to see if I can give us some paint effects. And so I've got a favorite here, Impasto Imp Big. And if you can't find the brushes, you can search for them and you can go Impasto and it'll pull those up. It's the Photoshop Master Pack. Actually, that one might not be available to everybody. I think I purchased that one. So maybe I won't use that. Let's stick with the ones that we can get from Adobe. So let's look at Kyle here. Let's look at the Mega Pack. Oh, you know what? Let's do some halftones and screen tones. So let's look at some halftones and let's just make that really big by pressing the right. Yeah, and I'm just gonna kind of just paint some halftones across the top here. Okay, and then I'm gonna switch to some white maybe in the middle. Give me some of that. That's a little much down there. Okay, cool. I kind of like that effect. I'm gonna go around the numbers in the dark parts with some of the white of that brush. So again, I'm just using Kyle's Halftone Big Dots Wonky, and I kind of like that effect. We can come into that layer if we need to, and we can use a bit of our gradient again. Let's go black, and we can kind of pull some of that back if we need to, just a touch. And I'm actually going to use my radial so I can kind of just get here in the middle. Yeah, that's nice. I don't want it necessarily there. It's a little harsher here, so I'm just going to kind of give myself a little bit of a fade on the edges. Great. All right.